I am Anuli Akanegbu, and you are listening to the Black in Real Life Podcast.
You're golden, you're so golden. What you got, you're the golden child. I see forever between you and me, forever between us.
This episode's guest is someone that many of you grew up with. You may know her best as an actress, but she is also a content creator and producer that actually has a strong connection to the influencer marketing industry. We'll talk more about that in this episode. But first, let me stop teasing y'all and introduce you to this episode's guest, Andrea Lewis. Andrea's artistic talents emerged at age 5, and even before celebrating her 16th birthday, this Toronto-born entertainer had already acted alongside Hollywood heavyweights such as Diane Carroll in the Natalie Cole Story and Wesley Snipes and Dr. Maya Angelou in her directorial debut, the critically acclaimed Down in the Delta. After wrapping up on the Disney movie Cadet Kelly alongside Hilary Duff, Lewis soon spent 6 seasons on the hit show Degrassi, The Next Generation, and became known around the world as Hazel, as millions of North Americans tuned in each week to watch Andrea in the award-winning drama. After Degrassi, she went on to other leading roles on Showtime, Nickelodeon, and BET. Taking her career to another level, Lewis started Jungle Wild Productions, where she created the award-winning hit web series Black Actress. You can keep up with her other productions at youtube.com/Andrea Lewis channel. We cover a lot of ground in this episode. We talk about everything from Andrea's career expansion from acting to now also content creating and producing. We talk about the need for more diverse representation on screen and behind the scenes in Hollywood. And we talk about how COVID-19 has affected the production of her upcoming feature-length documentary project, Social Beauty. Remember, at the end of each interview, I will come back to share a few key takeaways that stood out to me from our conversation. These takeaways will be supplemented with research from both academic and non-academic sources to add further context to subjects that were brought up in the interview portion. For every episode, I will include citations to the reference materials I mentioned, as well as some additional background reading for you on the Black in Real Life website. Visit www.blkirl.com to nerd out. Okay, now without further ado, let's get into my conversation with actress, filmmaker, and content creator Andrea Lewis. So you were primarily known as an actress, but you've also become known as a content creator. How did you first get into content creation, and when did you get comfortable with labeling yourself as a content creator?
I started in I want to say 2008, 2009. The inspiration was really at the time I had just done a movie with Nickelodeon, and I don't know. I started to have just a lot of goals for myself, overall ideas for just how I wanted to see my career. I had, I guess the ups and downs that any actor kind of had. I felt like I was known as from being on Degrassi and from just people seeing my work, but I just didn't feel like I had control. I felt very I was at other people's mercy in terms of like where my career would go and how people could see me, Andrea Lewis. And it's especially because I have like a really big personality and I'm very ambitious. And so 2008, 2009 is YouTube. Like people are just kind of like making stuff on YouTube and no real goal necessarily. And my friend and I both felt the same way career wise. We were like, I don't know, I just have more to say and more to do. And I'm not sure. So we started a YouTube channel at the time. It was called Those Girls Are Wild. And that was my introduction into creating content, into like thinking about filming myself or what I want to film and learning editing. And it was also the early days of YouTube. So you really had this room to just do whatever you wanted, truthfully. It was my boot camp in understanding social media marketing, in understanding just all the things, like being a producer, I would say, because we were working super hard at it and we were not being paid. Like there was not even a thought on how we could be paid, truthfully. It was honestly just for us to have an outlet. And so that kind of introduced me. But also at the same time, career wise, I always knew that I was eventually going to be a producer. I just had that in me, that I knew women on a whole had to take some kind of control over their career at some point. And I remember I read an article on Reese Witherspoon having a production company. And truthfully, I was kind of like, if that is a white actress, like all American, and she has to do that to kind of put a stamp in the ground in terms of her career as a Black woman, like I'm definitely going to have to do that. And so I just knew that from a young age that that was going to be my path. And then kind of crossing paths with my just YouTube social media stuff, I just started to feel like, oh, here, this is where I'll do it. Like I don't have to kind of wait for this, I don't know, big miracle to happen to me to start a production company. Like this is now me learning that process. And I think that's just being a millennial, that like the world just started to shift, technology and all of this stuff. And so that was my introduction. But then I want to say maybe by the time I'd started my web series Black Actress is when I became comfortable with the idea of calling myself an overall creator and calling myself a filmmaker, because I was writing this thing, I was producing this thing, and I was very confident in my production skills, in my producing skills on a whole. Like I just knew that I knew a lot about that world. And so I didn't feel anymore like I just had to call myself an actor. And doing the web series was by no means, my thought around it was not just for people to see me as an actor. It was actually for people to see me as a creator and to know that I wrote this thing and I produced this thing and I had this skill set.
The idea of people now seeing you as a creator, what does that mean to you? Is it a form of validation?
Yeah, I guess, you know what, it's validating for my little girl self, I guess, because like I said, I had these goals for a really long time. So they're not surprising to me. They might be surprising to somebody else who doesn't know anything about you. But so that's where it's more so confirming that I had this capability, but I also carved this out for myself. I created this lane. So it's not luck, and it's not just something that just kind of stumbled upon me. It's like, I did this. I actively made this happen. And so, yeah, it is refreshing to know that I'm doing the thing I wanted to do. And then also it's exciting to know that it is being received in a positive way.
And you mentioned Reese Witherspoon, and it seems like a lot of actresses are starting their own production companies. Do you feel like that is something that everyone has to do in order to survive in the industry these days?
Oh, I definitely don't think you have to do it. I don't, but I do think getting involved in your work and learning the different ways to go about creating art is something you have to do, because the business changes so frequently. I mean, look at a year like this one where a lot of actors, a lot of artists felt very stuck. Like, what am I supposed to do? And I just knew that, like, if I was to just constantly be waiting and hoping for a casting director and my manager and my agent and all these people to do this work that it matters most to me, I think I'd be incredibly frustrated. And so I do think as actors or as writers or as anything, that there has to be a level of self-motivation, and you have to get the ball going, whatever that means for you. That could mean I'm just going to connect with creators and I'm going to be kind of in their world and I'm going to hope that they cast me. Or that could mean I'm just going to be actively pitching ideas to people to put me in, whatever it is. But I do think that's a part of the business. But I think being a producer is really hard work and not for everybody. And so I'm like, you have to really love the business, and all jobs have stress, mind you, but the stresses that come with being a producer, you have to genuinely love it in order for it to be something you want to continually do, because it's a lot of work.
you've added producer now to your multi-hyphenate career. I'd like to talk a bit about one of your latest projects that you are now on, Social Beauty, which is an upcoming feature-length documentary film that centers Black women turned social media influencers who are changing the mainstream and the standards in the beauty market. Just to share with the listeners a little bit about the film, it's going to feature beauty influencers like Jackie Aina, Whitney Wright, Sydney Black, Shalom Black, Naima Tang, Elisa Ashley, all people I personally follow. How did you get involved with this project?
So it's my idea.
Awesome.
So I'm the creator of it, and I love beauty, and I grew up on set. So I learned about beauty from my experience on set. I learned about the good and the bad in the sense of being a Black actor. I think it's kind of like every Black actor knows this. You're going to experience some people that have absolutely no idea what to do with you. No idea what to do with your hair, no idea what to do with your complexion. And then you're going to have a person every now and again that kills it, and you're going to be like, oh my God, I'm so thankful. How can I have you on every single set? But it is a learning process for you, right? Like in terms of one, having the confidence to go in and know that sometimes you're not going to be happy with what they did. I think from a young age, you learn very early, like the stylist that was almost afraid of you, truthfully, because they're not used to working with darker complexions. They're not used to working with curlier or coarser hair types. Like you can tell when they're like, okay. And so you naturally go prepared. That's what ends up happening. Like, and that's kind of the things that Black people do on a regular basis just to protect ourselves. Like, you're like, fine, my hair's already going to be basically done. You guys are not going to have to do very much here. I'm going to bring my makeup just in case. And so I just realized how much I had learned in this process of growing up, and to kind of see the world that I'm in now with these women who are average women for the most part, and expressing some of the same things that I had felt in terms of a lack of complexions, a lack of hair products, and then sharing it with us, like going on a journey to figure it out, to educate not only themselves but also our community, was just always incredibly fascinating for me. And naturally, the work that they were doing made me more confident as a Black entertainer when I would be on set, to go there and be like, oh yeah, no, this is what you're supposed to have, or no, we can't use that product, or you guys should know more about the complexion range of the people that you're working with. Like, because these women online are calling out a brand or are saying like, I mean, this is cool, but this is not a warmer undertone, or this is not, like, and being able to actively do that, it naturally just has a ripple effect in terms of giving confidence to everyone that deals in that space or thinks about beauty at all. And so, I was fascinated from, I don't know, a really long time ago, because it's like I've always watched Natural, I've always watched Jackie, and so to eventually get to know them and seeing their real life, like the sacrifices that they have made, not just for us, but for themselves in terms of just kind of becoming what they have. And I think when it comes to the beauty space, Black beauty, all of us Black women know the influence that these women have had on us and on the beauty, but the world doesn't acknowledge it like that. Like, we really don't get to see them highlighted for the work that they have really done to empower us for the natural hair movement, for complexions, for everything. And so it was kind of a no-brainer to want to do a documentary on them.
So you knew from the beginning when you had this idea that film was going to be the medium that you wanted. What do you think a feature-length film allows you to do that another medium like a TV show or a podcast or a book wouldn't allow for?
I just knew I wanted it to be on the biggest platform, truthfully. And I had already done so much digital work that, sure, this is an idea. Of course, I could just film them tomorrow and put them on my YouTube channel if I really wanted to. But I just knew that the story was so massive and so important to me that I just felt like this is the kind of project that I saw in theaters, that I saw on streamers, that I saw with like everybody's eyes getting to see it, and not just mine or not just my following, but for everyone. And so always from the time I kind of started to think about it and develop it, it was like, no, this is going to be at the highest level that we can do it, because I think they deserve it. And I also think Black beauty is that important that it should be showcased for what it is, and that it is what Black beauty sets the trend. These Black women are doing work that I think is truly not being acknowledged in the way that it should be. And I think we are at a time now where people are ready to see our stories and to see us highlighted in the way that is genuine and authentic to what we have done in this last little while. And so it's like thinking about these women and like, yeah, the last decade, they've been in the digital platform. They've done podcasts. They've done everything. Mm-hmm. And so truly, if you're going to show their stories, let's show it for a medium that they haven't been a part of yet. And that's feature films.
So film production or the film part is supposed to start this fall. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
How has the COVID-19 pandemic impacted your production process?
You know what? It's been interesting because it has affected us and not at the exact same time. Like, I'm very lucky that I have such a great team around me that we've just been working so hard at it. And truthfully, it just allowed us more time to really gather everything that we needed to gather and just kind of get it going. What it has affected, obviously, is the careers of our girls in terms of like their schedules, right? Mm. Like before this, they were flying all over the place. Now people are like, I don't know about that flight. And like virtual events versus a physical event. Like, I don't know if you've ever gone to a beauty con, but those things are packed.
Yeah.
And so now COVID is not really allowing for things like that. So it's affected us in those ways. But in terms of just their busyness in their lives, luckily they're all still moving and shaking. And I think anybody that kind of makes digital content would probably be able to talk about that in general. Like, if you are making stuff out of your home, truthfully, then this year you'd probably be like, I'm almost busier. I'm almost like having to do more because you're like, this is where I normally work anyway. I normally work in my space. And so that's been, I think the balance for them as well is that now their home life is not just relaxation anymore. It's like, you know, where they are doing everything as well. And I know like Natural, for instance, she's a mother. So just like everybody else, it's like, she too has had to balance like having 2 children plus making content for us plus like, so these are the things that but that I think will still be interesting for us to showcase. But everyone's lives have been affected in a way that I think everybody in the world could relate to right now.
Do you think that will be kind of a theme or subject that comes up in the film?
We have to really see, truthfully, in the end,
right.
post. But I mean, that's the natural way of that the thing with a documentary is you're filming real life.
Yeah.
And so we won't ignore it, obviously, because that's the realities of everybody's situation. But I couldn't speak on it yet if I thought that COVID would be this like big thing. Yeah.
And I'm just now thinking about like the outside looking in, like the acting industry and then even like influencer marketing. They're both careers that rely on this like rotating door of talent. Have you noticed personally any similarities between acting and influencing?
You know what? It's interesting. They're not necessarily similar, but I saw the change. So I remember when I started social media and would talk to my agents and my managers about it and was like, you know, there's this thing, and I think if you guys, and if you would allow, and if you would pitch, and they just did not get it, truthfully. Like they were like, okay, I'm glad you're keeping yourself busy, but I'm not really sure.
And this is 2008 too?
Yeah, 2008, 2009. And I mean, like, literally probably all the way up until like 2012.
Okay.
I saw like that you would bring this up, like, we have this large following, or there's this audience, or, you know, these women. And especially when I was pitching ideas that would center around Black women. And they were just like, okay, maybe, not really sure. Truly did not really move the needle. And then I remember the day when it was like having an entire meeting just around my web series, or just around the fact that I had a social media presence, or just around the fact that I was even actively doing digital content and upkeeping my social pages and all of that kind of stuff. And then the shift of it now being a benefit for me versus something that nobody understood or nobody even got why I was doing it. So I think I'm very lucky in the sense of my activism for my own career and my wanting to motivate and keep going has now met up with the business that I got my legs in, the business that I know the most, which is television and film. Because I always tell people, I don't think there's one over the other. Like, I think when you are creating, obviously, the goal should just be to be able to create it. I could care less if it goes onto a digital platform, if it goes onto television and film. I just want to be able to get my stories out. And to now be in that space where that's how the conversations are going, that's the way people are excited about you because you care about both of these things, it's been, I would say again, confirming. Because like I said, when you start this thing, I don't think you necessarily know what it is or where it's going to end up, but you're hoping it'll make some sense. And so to one day have a meeting where somebody's glad that you have a Twitter following or an Instagram following, or like that you do stuff on a regular basis, yeah, that will make you feel like, okay, I'm not as crazy as I thought I was this entire time.
Because you're definitely ahead of the curve. Because now, like within the last year, I'm seeing like more actors and celebrities have YouTube, TikTok. Like they are trying to become influencers now. It's almost like the paradigm has flipped. Like Will
Yeah,
Smith is known on Instagram now.
yeah, no, completely. It definitely has flipped. And I also think people are seeing, yeah, there's more of a way to control their brand. There's more of a way to create other bits of income for themselves, or just other opportunities for themselves.
Mm.
Truthfully, it doesn't even matter if you're on there for a check necessarily, but if you're just kind of like, I could create a show off of this, or I could, I don't know, create a tour, whatever it is. I think that is why more people are doing it, because the industry is genuinely very fickle, and it's also like, it's trends, right? Like we've seen, and I think a lot of Black actors talk about this, like, yeah, right now diversity is really hot, but that's the thing, we're all waiting like for the day
Mm-hmm.
when it switches and now it's not, because you've experienced that before. You have been in a time where you're like, okay, there was a time when every network needs a Black show, and then all of a sudden they had none, and that's because it's like, yeah, we weren't the trend. And so I think in order to avoid when those dips happen in your career, if you can find ways to control it, to control the narrative, or to control having an audience for yourself, having something that no one else did but just you built that, that's the reason why I think any person is right now super invested in and thinking about what a social media brand looks like for themselves, and what creating content even looks like.
And I want to talk now a little more about Black Actress because I actually really enjoyed it and I've watched all the seasons personally. And what I appreciated is that you really foregrounded those experiences of being a Black actress in Hollywood. So now, like now looking back over the past 5 years since you first posted season one of the series on YouTube, can you talk a bit about whether you feel that the entertainment industry has made any strides in how it treats Black women on and off screen?
It has. It's been interesting. I mean, even when I did the first season, from the time I had started developing it to the time we had started shooting it, I think the first season of Scandal had happened. And that was like the first time in a long time that you saw a show created by a Black woman about a Black woman starring a Black woman. Like in a really long time, that was like the first time seeing something truly like that on TV. Like, because I think we'd had, I don't even know, like maybe a decade between that kind of thing, in terms of like network television. And so I remember at the time thinking, oh, wow, like this is that energy. That's always how ideas happen. Like you have an idea and then like the world is like around you, like, like confirming of your idea. And so I have seen a shift. Like now we have more shows than at the time when I had started it that are starring Black women or have Black women in the cast. Black women getting to wear their hair natural on television is like, that has dramatically changed in the last little while from the time I started the show. But then at the same time, there's still things, like, and so I more so celebrate the strides that we've made. I recognize that this is always going to be a fight, and I hope the day comes when it's not. But I know, like, something as small as I work with a lot of teenage actors, and to work with them and to hear some of them right now having the same insecurities that I had when I was a little girl shocks me. Like they'll be, well, I don't really know if they want a Black girl. Well, it says open ethnicity, and I don't think that means a Black girl. Like I used to think like that when I was like
Oh
12
wow.
years old. So to be in 2020 and to hear a 13-year-old also thinking like that, you're like, huh? Like, and so that's where you see, okay, so we haven't necessarily made the strides that we think we have, right? But at the same time, I do think that there's definitely more representation, and that's ultimately the goal. And so I think when you think of shows like Insecure, or even Black Lady Sketch Show, or even I May Destroy You, or Lovecraft Country, like, mind you, all HBO, I'm literally listing, but
Yeah.
these are shows that are starring not just Black women, but like a diverse group of Black women. Like they have different complexions and different hair types, and I think there was a time when I would think about television, and it did not look like that. It was not diverse. You did not get to see a dark skinned woman and a light skinned woman and a brown skin. You did not get to see that. It was like one thing and one thing only. even like How to Get Away with Murder. I was saying this recently, like just the thought of Viola Davis taking off her wig and and like getting down to that part of herself on camera, that was like unheard of. You would never see something like that. Like if that woman was going to be a lawyer, then she was polished through and through. She was going to bed in that wig, and that was that, right? Like, and now to be able to say that like she as an actress can tell the executives and say, no, if you want to show an authentic experience, then this is the realities. I should be seen taking off my wig. I should be seen taking off my makeup. Those are major strides to me. And so I do think that there has been big change, but I also think at the same time, I think Black actresses on the quest for their dreams probably would be like, it's still the same. So yeah, we're working, we're trying.
Are there goals beyond representation? Does representation necessarily mean power in the industry?
Yeah, I think it's not just kind of, I think, representation on screen, though. It's representation behind. It's like being able to say that there are executives at the high level that can actually make real decisions, who look like you, who understand you also. Or even if they don't, I think that's the other thing. Even if they're not Black women, but they actually recognize that this is a identity that I should want to embrace. If I don't understand their stories, I should be trying to. I should be wanting to listen. And so I think that's more so the power that we're all trying to find and we're trying to get for ourselves, is being able to say, this showrunner is Black and this showrunner is Black and this executive and this person over here and these people are championing for Black creators to be able to tell more stories and to accurately represent Black life. I think that's more so the thing than anything. I think for me, at least, the thing I crave is diversity in our stories and being able to say, this is this person's experience and that one's experience and that one's experience and that one's experience. And I don't even have to like all of them. But as long as I can see them and recognize that that happens over here and that happens over here and learn something, especially for like the Black diaspora, I would feel just like, wow, we've come a really long way.
And even thinking about the work that you produce, including Black Actress, now Social Beauty, and even your short films like Token, there's definitely a through line in your work about centering the experiences of Black women. Why is that so important to you?
I guess because I'm a Black woman and I like my life. I don't know. I'm like, I grew up with strong women. I grew up with diverse women. And so I think I have a very unique experience in the world where the women in my family all look different. I have light skin, I have dark skin, I have me in the middle. They had all different hair types, but I think the only common thread that they would share was the fact that they all identified as Black women. And so regardless of certain things that may have happened to them, they kind of had that thing that they experienced. And so I think that was like just a very unique club for me, in the sense of my family, my mom, my grandmother, my aunts, my cousins. They were excited to be Black women. They loved it. They loved being what they were, and they weren't really trying to be anything else. Like where I'm like, I know not everybody grew up like this, but I'm like, I didn't grow up with like complexion issues and hair issues or anything like that, because I'm like, the women in my family just managed to be very proud of whatever it was that they had. Could care less about anybody else's stuff. And so when it came to me creating content, I kind of like was just attracted naturally to that. I wanted to show those types of women because that's what I knew. And so it is very important for me to also, life imitates art, art imitates life, to be able to just show somebody my point of view in the world. And so I think that's why I continually make work that's centered around Black women, is that's just what I know. And truthfully, it's the things that I care most about. And like I said, where I am so passionate about the stories of Black women that I like make sure every year to work with young Black actors, and just to hear any of them tell me a story that's anything like my own experience will make me be like, oh, like I really got to do a lot of work, because I don't want them to experience some of the discriminations that I had experienced, or some of the self-doubt that I had experienced. I don't want them to experience that. I want them to have a more confident ride. You know what I mean? I want them to feel like I can do anything I want, and everybody here appreciates me, and everybody here likes me, and I'm not just a token person. I'm not just the diversity hire. And so I think that's where, as a filmmaker, that's what I just feel obligated to. And I think every filmmaker kind of feels at least obligated to something. And I think for me, it's just that I had such a diverse upbringing around so many types of Black women that it just has, without me realizing it, it has made, it's like that's the color palette I'm always trying to see, is just everything like in one shot. And that's just what I'm attracted to, and that's just what I like. So I think that's just going to be my thing from now on.
That was my interview with actress, filmmaker, and content creator Andrea Lewis. I want to focus my takeaways on touching on a few points that Andrea made about working in Hollywood. As someone who has spent most of her life on set, Andrea believes that the conversation about representation in Hollywood needs to extend from on-screen to also behind the scenes. During our conversation, Andrea made a comparison between her experiences in Hollywood and the lived experiences of Black beauty influencers who, just like her, are disappointed in the lack of diversity in the beauty industry. She spoke about how the work done by beauty influencers like Jackie Aina and Whitney Wright made her more confident as a Black entertainer to advocate for herself on set. Andrea is among the many Black actresses who have begun to call for there to be more hairdressers and makeup artists on production sets that are able and willing to cater to the beauty needs of Black actors. In February 2020, The Hollywood Reporter published an article about the quote-unquote Black hair problem in Hollywood. The article shares the accounts of Black actresses like Lacey Mosley, who have had bad hair and makeup experiences on sets. As Mosley shares in the article, I'm a dark-skinned actress in Hollywood, and like 3 union makeup artists know how to do my makeup, and they're all busy as hell. The article goes on to talk about the lack of union makeup artists and hairstylists that have a wide range of experience in Hollywood, an industry that Mosley describes as overwhelmingly white and nepotistic. Randy Sayer, a business rep for the Makeup Artists and Hairstylists Guild, is quoted as saying that the Guild welcomes any and all discussions of diversity within our entertainment industry and looks to renew our ongoing conversation with the producers/employers to ensure that the workforce that is hired reflects the community in which we live and work. Now, like I said before, this article was published back in February. This is important to know because more recently in September 2020, The Hollywood Reporter published an article by Dagan Penner and David Kaufman called Being Othered in a Hair and Makeup Trailer, an Oral History of Styling and Beautifying Black Stars in Hollywood. This article draws attention to the fact that the lack of diversity among Hollywood's hair and makeup artists is nothing new. Actresses like the great Cicely Tyson have been bringing their own foundations with them to sets since the 1950s. Tyson shares with The Hollywood Reporter that she has never watched herself on screen because of bad experiences she had with white makeup artists early on in her career, who made her skin look gray rather than black. Overall, The Hollywood Reporter talked to 20 Black actors, makeup artists, hairstylists, and stylists about the fashion and beauty issues in Hollywood. As the article's writers explain, since the days of Dorothy Dandridge, Black actresses have compensated for unskilled on-set beauty pros by coming prepared, and they still do. Actress Kimberly Elise is quoted in the article as saying that she takes it upon herself to come to set with her hair in a state where it can't be touched, like in cornrows, and then she works with a stylist to find a wig that suits the character. She calls this an extra step that she has to do on her own time, and that as actors, Black women shouldn't be spending their energy on these things and should just be able to focus on their characters. A major problem is that many talented hairstylists are unable to even join the union due to the systemic gatekeeping measures that have been in place for years. For example, Larry Sims, who is a Black hairstylist that has been working with actress Gabrielle Union for over 15 years and is also a business partner in her hairline Flawless, shared that despite this experience and his accomplishments, even he has not been able to join the union. Actress Dawn Lynn Gardner is quoted in the article as saying, "The reality is that there needs to be more of a pipeline for Black stylists to be credentialed, including hiring from a diverse pool and new conversations about mandating expertise across hair textures. As Nancy Ewan writes in her book, Real Inequality, Hollywood Actors and Racism, Hollywood remains an exclusionary industry punctuated by colorblind racism and perpetuated by white decision makers. At the same time, actors of color have been able to survive and challenge Hollywood's racist culture. The book Precarious Creativity, edited by Michael Curtin and Kevin Sanson, looks at the changes confronting media workers in our age of globalization and corporate conglomeration. In the book's first chapter, the editors report that the working conditions in Hollywood have been deteriorating since the 1990s, if not earlier. While Andrea began to see the opportunities in digital media for actors in 2008, writers in Hollywood felt the pressure to produce content for digital media and social media in 2007. As explained in Precarious Creativity, in 2007, the Writers Guild of America went on strike against the Hollywood studios to claim their share of the growing revenue stream from digital media, such as Blu-ray, Netflix, and Hulu. Writers at the time protested against what they called an unpaid second shift, where they felt pressure to produce ancillary content for websites and social media in addition to the work they put into film and television scripts. According to the book's editors, Hollywood has a tradition of labor activism that goes back to the 1930s. The 2007 strike by the Writers Guild of America brought Hollywood to a standstill for a short period of time, but in the end, only made modest progress on key issues. You have probably noticed that your favorite celebs have become more active on social media these days. Will Smith is the best example of this, having been crowned as the Fresh Prince of Instagram by People magazine. As Andrea explained in our conversation, the television and film industry is generally very fickle. Andrea provided some helpful context for understanding this trend during our conversation. She explained that expanding their brands into social media provides new avenues for celebrities to control their careers in an increasingly precarious industry. So if content creators want to become celebrities more and more want to become content creators. You have just listened to a production of the Black in Real Life podcast, hosted by Anuli Akanegbu, developed by Anuli Akanegbu, scripted by Anuli Akanegbu, edited by Anuli Akanegbu, with research support by Anuli Akanegbu. The music was graciously provided by Garth, whose single Wild can be streamed on anywhere you can find music. Thank you, and remember, the people you follow online are also Black in real life.